Erysha Ezlyn Ghazali, and in this video I will present about plant reproduction. So enjoy the video. Plants are living organisms that must reproduce in order to pass on their genetics to future generations. All living species have the ability to reproduce their kind. Reproduction is the process of creating new individuals from their parents. How do plants, on the other hand, reproduce? Plants reproduce in a number of different ways, which are sexually or asexually, to produce progeny. Firstly, I will briefly explain about asexual reproduction followed by sexual reproduction. Many plants are capable of self-propagation through asexual reproduction. This process does not require the needed to grow a flower, attract pollinators, or discover a way to disperse seeds. Because there is no mixing of male and female gametes, asexual reproduction creates plants that are genetically identical to the parent plant. Because they carry genes identical to those of their parents, these plants have traditionally fared well under stable environmental conditions when compared to plants created through sexual reproduction. Plants reproduce asexually in two ways, which are vegetative reproduction and apomixis. What is vegetative reproduction? Vegetative reproduction refers to any type of asexual reproduction in plants in which a new plant originates from a fragment of the parent plant or from a specific reproductive organ. Vegetative reproduction produces new plant individuals but does not produce seeds or spores. Under vegetative reproduction, there are a few types of this method. First, a rhizome, also known as a creeping rootstock, is a horizontal underground plant stem capable of forming a new plant's shoot and root system. Furthermore, the chain stems enable the parent plant to replicate vegetatively. Common examples of rhizomes include bearded iris, bamboo, ginger, and cannellaris. Second is a bulbs. To distinguish them from the other varieties, horticulturists refer to this as true bulbs. True bulbs are made up of layers of modified leaf with a small flower or sprout in the core. If you cut an onion in half from top to bottom, you will notice that the roots at the bottom of the bulb tie the plant to the ground while also absorbing water and nutrients. Garlic, tulips, daffodils, and lilies are further examples of true bulbs. Next is a tubers. Tubers are easily identified by the eyes that sprout from the stems. As long as each piece includes an eye, this plant can be chopped into parts and regrown. The potato is the most well-known tubers, and other examples include dahlias and caladiums. Then is a corms. Corms resemble real bulbs, but they are solid and laid layers of modified leaf. The nutrients are absorbed by the leaf and flower as they grow, and the corm shrivels up and disappears. During the growing season, one or more new corms are generated, and this is how the plant regenerates itself. Examples of plants are gladiolus and crocus. And then we move to the second method, which is apomixis reproduction. Apomixis is a sort of asexual reproduction that occurs without the union of gametes, resulting in no fertilization or meiosis. The ovum develops directly into an embryo, a process known as parthenogenesis. In flowering plant, it's called agemospermy, which means clonal reproduction through seeds, while in non-flowering plants, it's called epigamy, which means clonal propagation without seeds that look like sporophytes. Now, I will briefly explain the concept of sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction involves the genetic material of two parents, male and female sex cells, known as gametes, exist in the parent plants. To generate offspring, the genetic material from the male and female gametes is mixed. This is known as fertilization. The genetic material from both parents is included in the seeds formed by fertilization. As a result, neither of the parent plant's offspring are genetically similar. Pollination is the process through which flowering plants reproduce sexually. The flowers have stamens, which are male sex organs, and pistils, which are female sex organs. The anther is the pollen-containing portion of the stamen. This pollen must be transferred to the stigma, a component of the pistil. Here I will show you 6 steps of sexual reproduction in plants. The first step is pollination. Pollen move from a stamen to a stigma. The second step is pollen tube development. A pollen tube forms a transport pollen downward. Pollen moves from the stigma to the style and then into the plant's ovule. The third process is fertilization. A seed is formed when a male gamete, which is pollen, combines with a female gamete, which is ovule. The seeds are the plant's embryo. The fourth step is the formation of fruit. The ovary matures and develops into a fruit. The fruit may have a single or many seeds. The fifth step is the dispersal of seeds. Winged animals or ejections carry the fruits away from the parent plant. The final step is germination. If the seed is planted in the proper soil, it will germinate. The seed sprouts into a new plant. The stem extends upward, whereas roots extend downward into the soil. Lastly, I want to talk about life cycle of plants. Everyone knows that plants also have a life cycle like humans, but what is that? The length of time from the beginning of development to the death of a plant is called its lifespan. The life cycle, on the other hand, is the sequence of stages that a plant goes through from seed germination to mature plant seed production. The lifespan of plants is classified into 3 categories, which are annuals, biennials, and perennials. Annuals are plant species that grow, flower, and die in 1 year, completing their life cycle in 1 season. For example, watermelon, beans, and corn. Biennials is a plant with a life cycle that takes 2 years to complete. For example of biennials include onion, cabbage, and carrot. The plant goes through a vegetative phase in the first season of a biennial, and then it goes through a reproductive phase the following season. Lastly, perennials are plants that are active throughout the year or have more than 2 growing seasons. They complete their life cycle in 2 years or more. In another classification, based on flowering frequency, monocarpic plants include bamboo and yucca, which flower only once in their lifetime. These plants may reproduce asexually during the vegetative phase of their life cycle, storing a large amount of food material that will be required for their once in a lifetime flowering and seed setting after fertilization. These plants die soon after flowering. Polycarpic plants produce flower several times throughout their life. Fruit trees like apple and orange trees are polycarpic, meaning they flower every year. I think that's all from me. Thank you.